Friends, Russians, countrymen, lend me your ears. So I'm going to introduce the video with a video of a video and just talk to what we're going to work on today. We are working on a Kiss lamp board. This is the part of the pinball machine when you're looking at it that lights up the back glass and flashes those legendary Kiss lights behind it. Reason I am doing a sort of a pre-video to the videos, just to let you know this is a long one. It's filmed over 4 episodes. The reason it's 4 episodes is I only get 15-minute time blocks, so I've got to do what I can in order to get everything down in 15-minute chunks. So to that end, it's a bit choppy. You're going to see some areas where I've edited, where I've cut media out just to keep it within those time frames. And there was a portion, unfortunately, that I lost some of the video that I had to improvise. So again, I apologize for that. Now, again, this is a long one, but I think it's a good one. We're going to learn a lot. We're going to learn how to use schematics. We're going to learn how to splice into wires. We're going to learn some of the logic behind how the boards are oriented in a pinball machine, especially on the Bally's, the solenoid driver board, the lamp driver board, MPU, all that good stuff. So dig in, grab some popcorn, and let's have some fun with this one. And again, as always, like, share, subscribe, do all that wonderful stuff. Send me an email if you need to. But let's begin with the show. Guys, this is Rush Fan here. Today we are working on a Kiss light board. Well, this is the template where all the lights go. And so what I'm basically going to do is I'm going to take a pick and I'm going to just basically tap little reference points. And you're probably asking, where did I get this? Well, I actually made it off an original game. I had a game that was in really, really rough shape, so I had to take the wiring out and I had to build one from scratch. This is the light board. Now, if you see all these little dots, we're actually going to drill through it. It is just 3/4 inch plywood. And I put an original light board behind it and literally traced it out with a router. Now what we're going to do is drill holes. And here's the lamp that we're going to be using. Okay, it's right there, and here's the bit that we're going to be using to drill the holes. So this is what you're going to need. First of all, you need a picture of how the lights, the grid is laid out. You're also going to need a specialized stapler. This is a T50 stapler. So this fires the same kind of staples that you have, at home to bind documents together, but obviously it's a bit more heavy duty. Again, there's the T50 staple, there's the T50 stapler. This is what I'm using for the power braid. Some people call it ground braid, call it whatever you want. It is actually just picture hanging wire. Using the 9 kilogram or 20 pound test. It's thin and it's pretty close to the thickness of the original. Okay, so grab yourself, I got, how many feet? 25 feet here. And then you're going to need lamp sockets. Okay, these are pretty close to the originals. They're not 100% identical, but I've used these on numerous projects and they work famously. So that's the way we're going to continue to go. Then we hook up our stapler here. Give it a shot, and perfect. Okay, then when we install all the light sockets, we're going to come back and hook up the braid. Here's what I do. As I go around stapling away here, trying not to make mistakes, like we've got a couple. Hey, what are you going to do, right? You got to make sure separate line. Okay, nothing here can short against each other. Nothing can basically touch from one rail to the other. That includes staples. Okay, if staples touch, it's going to create what's called a short. It's going to pop fuses. You're going to drive yourself crazy trying to figure out what the problem is. Another thing I do is I try to make so the first run when I staple in the light sockets, that secures them pretty well. Now the second run is, if you notice, I don't have like the light socket secured here, because what I do is as I solder the wire, it gives me the ability to manipulate the wire a little bit. Okay, because if I staple the wire everywhere, then I wouldn't have any room to play around when I go to solder it. That goes for everything. Okay, so these are the final rails over here. So if you notice, I'm not going to solder or staple on top. I'm going to go over. Same thing here. Okay, and I'm also going over a bit so that I can fold the wire back. You can see that, okay, when the time comes. Okay, now we also have a couple of small wires that we've got to put across here, across here, across here. I'll put those in first, and I'll staple them again just so I can maneuver the wire a bit. And we are done. Well, we're done round one. We still have to hook up the main wiring harness, which is right here. Let me just show you what the dealio is here. So this has to go on here. And you're probably wondering how we can do that. You know what? It looks a lot more daunting than it really is. And I've also got to adapt this wiring harness to feed the Kiss thingamajiggy that lights this up. That's another board altogether that sits inside the head. So throwing those wires down was more for dramatic effect than anything. Bally light board wiring harnesses are basically two different wire harnesses in one. So we can separate it from the connecting block right here. And what we have is the display portion, which is this. So you got where your displays hook up to, and there's the brown and whites. These go to your solenoid driver board, your MPU, stuff like that. And we have the feature lights and the general illumination part of the wiring harness. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it off this one here because they're interchangeable. Bally's are pretty good for, they can go from light board to light board. Some of them do need some modifications, but I'm going to take this off. I'm going to show you how we can figure out which wire does what with the schematic. And I'm also going to show you how the lamp, the light board is wired up as well. I wanted to go over some basics with the schematic. We're going to be looking at for the most part of this build and what everything does in reference to the actual boards and stuff. Because you're going to hear me say A5, J5 about 50 times. I want you to understand where I'm coming from and what we're doing. So this is in the repair manual. This is an outlay of all the boards and all the pins and colors and all the wiring. So first off the bat is let's look at, this is a standard Bally wiring harness. So it gives you a number. All of them have two numbers. So let's pick this one for example. It's 80. So that wire color would be 8, which is black, 0, which is no trace. So that's a black wire. For the first digit is the dominant color and the second one is the tracer. Now, let's look at the boards. A1 is the insert, okay? Bang, that's the insert. Now within the insert, we have, it says, see how it says player 1, player 2, player 3, player 4, and then credit, that's these. That's these wiring bundles here. So obviously I'm looking at it backwards, but like that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's credit, okay? 5, lamp driver A5, MPU A4, voltage regulator solenoid driver A3. So here's the lamp driver, bang, there's A5. Here is the MPU, A4. The voltage regulator, A3. And even the transformer, it says A2. Here's a transformer, okay? And the A2 is written right there. So again, each board corresponds to a specific part of the schematic, and it's highlighted. Now let's break it down to one more subsection. Let's look at the lamp driver, because we're going to be spending a lot of time with the lamp driver. Now, so when I say we're going to, like, you're going to hear in the video, oh, let's go to A5J3-7. What I'm referring to is the wiring harness that connects to that specific part of the board. Sorry, if I say A5, we know it's always referring to the lamp driver. If I say A4, then we know it's referring to the MPU. So let's look at, for example, the lamp driver board. So this is A5. If I say A5, J4, well, there's A5, there's J4, okay? So this would be, for example, the wire that goes in here. That's A5, J4, okay? And each one of these is named. They're all named. So let's say we're talking about A5, J4, pin, let's say pin 7. Okay, all the pins on the boards are numbered. So 1, and then you count 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This represents the key. What's the key? All of them have this little white piece of plastic in there, which helps you orient it to make sure you're putting the wire on properly. So every time you see one of these lines, it's a key. Okay, and now, not all of the time do they start in the proper sequence. So if we look here, it starts from 1, it goes up to 17. If I go to the solenoid driver board, it starts from 1 and it goes down to 9. Okay, so don't ever get caught into the thinking it's always 1 on top, 1 on the bottom.